a second from Wilson, all in favor, show your vote sign, motion carries, thank you, gentlemen. Chief of Operations report, Daniel, anything to report?
No, sir, we're just trying to get what we've done early in the month.
Yep, it's hot.
Yes.
It's hot, any questions in regards to anything, Chief of Operations? No questions, moving on to police report, Chief Thompson.
Yes, sir. We're gonna have a community meet and greet, Thursday the 24th at 6 p.m. right here at City Hall. Any of the citizens that would like to join us that night, we'll meet the officers we have on duty. Any questions or concerns you have, we'll be happy to address them that night. We appreciate everything y'all do.
Once again, I'd like to thank you and your officers for all you do for the citizens of Franklin Springs. Next order of business, fire department report. I don't think we have anybody here from the fire department. Jackie, they said this anything?
No, sir.
Moving down, we have Rushing Company, we have Justin with us tonight, he's here to do our yearly audit.
Again, my name is Justin, I appreciate y'all having me tonight. Earlier this year, we completed the 2024 audit for the city. Alright, so I got passed out a few different items here. I'll try to be brief for this, but we've got first item here. Should have 3 bullet points in the middle. This is our audit committee letter. We'll spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is some required material that we're supposed to give. It talks about significant audit findings, if we were to have any disagreements with management, if there's anything along the line during this audit process that we wanted to convey, other matters. It talks about if you don't like our opinion, you can go get another opinion. That type of boilerplate, I'm sure a lawyer wrote this, but that's what the audit committee letter is. The second letter here is what we're going to call the management points letter. So during the audit, we come up with certain recommendations after we reviewed your internal controls. Look at really who does what in your city. If we come back and say, hey, here's where we think you've got some room for improvement, you would see it get relayed to you with this message. There are no, it might be easier to say there are no new ones this year. It's your size city, the number of employees you have, there's certain like segregation of duties on the top. What that means is you don't have enough people to try to segregate who all does what here. What that also means is you have somebody that wears a lot of hats. All right, I'm sure you'll always have to operate that way, but we just want to convey that that's a risk. The more you got one person doing something, we'd like to try to separate that, but we realize that's always going to be an issue. All right. The next 2 items, I'll spend the bulk of my time on. So this here is your audited financial statements. You have trouble sleeping at night, let's start here, and you'll be there before you know it, but financial statements for a government are very complex. If you ever have any questions, I tell you all the time, reach out to me, but your best friend is the no disclosures. That's the narrative on the financial statements that provide a little bit more detail to you. You see all the numbers on statements, your eyes gloss over. You get back to the notes, it'll go into some detail of what those items are. So I've condensed that down in my presentation to touch on what I believe to be the more important items of the city. You got your different funds, different way you bring in money. We'll touch on the big ones. Alright, so obviously we got our table of contents up front that will refer you to different pages. But on page 3, you will see the audit opinion. That discusses page 1 and 3 in the booklet here. We do a lot of work. You can ask your staff to come in. We spend a lot of hours, they spend a lot of hours, but ultimately what you guys pay for is this opinion. Please present that y'all have a clean opinion. What that means is it's going to present fairly to a reader, that we don't think there's any material reasons that they couldn't make decisions based on these financial statements. That letter also talks about the city of Franklin Springs' responsibility. Even though we produce these financial statements, they're ultimately y'all's, and y'all need to take responsibility for those. And our responsibility is to express an opinion on them. Again, that blurs the lines a little bit. We produce them, but they're yours. But that's what we're required to practices, across y'all, just like any other city, in the state. Alright, next we've got the government-wide statements. So in that booklet on pages 4 and 5, you'll see your debt statement, your net position. That's like your balance sheet. You've got your assets, liabilities, and your net position of the city. And again, this is your city as a whole, all of your funds. You've also got your statement of activities on page 5. This is like your income statement. It shows the results of the operations of the city, whether you've got net gains, net losses, and further through the statements, it'll go into more detail on those 2 pages of summary of the city as a whole. Alright, I'm gonna follow that up with a couple graphs here. So if the government-wide statements tell the story of the city as a whole, your net position is, like, let's say if we run at a net loss or net gain for years, it's that what's left over, that's your net position, your fund balance, retained earnings, and some of the things people are used to seeing there. But I've got a 3-year bar chart here that shows the different types you have, whether it's how much you invested in your capital assets and infrastructure, net position that's unrestricted to do with what you want in the budget, down to the restricted portion that based on how that money came in, that you've got to spend in certain ways. You'll see that y'all have always done this historically since I've been here, but been good stewards of the city of Franklin Springs financials. You usually, unless you're invested in infrastructure and long-term planning, you see that number that's always ticking up. Think about that like a rainy day fund, if you will, that's that reserve. Next is your change in that position over the last 3 years. What that loss or gain you're adding to your net position each year. And I'm gonna point out, people see that line, they see it go down from year 2023 to 24. Remember, that's not, when it went down from 156,000 to 83,000, that's not a loss. That just means that y'all added to y'all's fund balance less than you did last year. We're still increasing. I always want to point that out. Alright, so you got your government-wide statements we mentioned as a whole. That's all the operations of the city. So now we're going to get down into some of the detail of your general fund. Revenues increased around $48,000, so roughly 6%, mostly attributed to franchise tax increases, some local option sales tax increases, and a little bit of intergovernmental revenues, what's coming in from other governments, usually grant related, LMIG, things like that. Increased by $23,000 over the prior year. Expenditures also increased. That's been the theme for the last 5 years. If you're able to decrease expenditures, I think other cities would like to see y'all share your secret, but expenditures did go up about 23% this year. I usually come here and talk a lot about balance. Y'all run the real balance year to year. And when you see those percentages of revenue goes up, and you say, oh, the revenue 6%, expenditures 20-something%. I wanted to add more to that, shed some light on that. Y'all did have $113,000 of capital asset purchases this year. So think about capital purchases is not an every year type thing. Y'all do buy capital every year, but that's an investment in the city's future, things that are going to benefit long term. So in a year that you needed to, you could cut back on some of those purchases to run a little more balance if you needed to. But this year, y'all did have more expenses than revenues. Also in your general fund, you've got your unrestricted fund balance here. I really like explaining what this is. But you will see your change over the last 3 years, but in 2024, your unrestricted fund balance was $651,000. You'll see that in parentheses there, it says 9.8 months. So I really want to point this out. So I know that expenditures are not linear. What that means is during different seasons of the city, the budget's different, expenses go up and down. But if you just divided out all the general fund expenditures and said, if tomorrow we brought on June or 12/31, if we had brought in no more money, how long would we have operated, right? Well, based on y'all's financials, if no more money came into your general fund, y'all could have gone another 9.8 months of operations with not a single dollar coming in. And then obviously if you started changing your budget, you could last even longer. But that rainy day fund, you're almost a year there of operations. So you say, okay, well, what does that mean? From an auditor standpoint, I always like to point out what we think is healthy. That's 3 to 6 months. If you think about where y'all are compared to what normal would be, and I think that's something to be proud of.
So your recommendation to your clients is once again, Justin, 3 to 6 months?
Yep, and
I asked the same question.
yep, yeah. We see more, we see less, but, y'all would definitely be in the upper echelon of how much fund balance. Some people look at that, they say, put the money to work, why do you need all that, let's put it out there, it's.
While you're talking on that, Justin, can I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
With that being said, because this goes right into it, you know, over the last let's just go back the last 10 years, this council has rolled back taxes. So that's taken away revenue supposedly, because you count taxes as revenue.
That's right.
So this council over the last, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this as well, this council is going to vote in August to roll it back once again. So our taxpayers have had 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be their 5th tax break. But yet the city and its leadership continues to keep that fund balance and that rainy day fund going up. So to me, that's a tremendous accolade to the staff and to the council of the city.
I concur. Alright, so I'm gonna follow that slide up with several graphs, and all we like, you know, representation, to show you visuals, I'm gonna show some graphs here. Here's your last few years of revenues and how that's changed year to year. Very consistent revenues and expenditures, except for the 1 year. That had to do with the land purchase and the way it moves within funds within the government. That's an outlier. If you were to look back years outside of that, you would still like to see those two lines there stay close together. Some years they flip-flop, but stay in balance is what we're looking for. Alright. The next one there, the next slide is another chart visual of fund balance. Very, very consistent with I want to distinguish what those two things are there. You've got your total fund balance and then you've got your unrestricted. It doesn't do you a lot of good if you've got a whole lot of fund balance, but your real structure on what it can be spent on. What that means is you don't have a lot of flexibility. If something arises, you know, we don't have a lot of money to play with here. If you see those charts get too far apart. So again, that is a very, very healthy sign. The one anomaly there again relates to that land purchase. So I'd like more for you to pay attention to how those two are correlated with one another. Alright, we got another chart here that goes over we talked about the revenues and how we're bringing money in, and this shows you how it's coming in. So taxes, 82%. That's about for y'all, that's the lion's share. Obviously, you bring money in a lot of different ways, with a license and permits, grants, interest, things of that nature. But because you've been rolling that back, that 82% mark is staying relatively the same, from the standpoint of property taxes, things like that. Now, one thing that can skew it some is local option sales tax. Again, everything costs more. Well, that means a little bit more as you're spending it. So as the taxes might look like they stay the same, even though you hear roll back, it's getting made up with something else. And local option sales tax would just be one piece of that. Same concept. We talked about how we spent money. This shows you by function. A little more even and spread out, means you're deploying your money evenly, so to speak. General government is about 44%, public safety 29%, public works 21%. That ranking 1, 2, 3 would be about the same anywhere you went. So that's with how you're deploying your money. Alright, next I want to touch on your water and sewage fund. On pages 11 through 13 in the book, you will see more detail there. But your revenues in water and sewage went up about $39,000 or 11%. Water sales increased, sewer charges increase, tap fees increase, tap fees, think about, economic activity, that whether that's commercial, residential, that's what's driving that. And as those fees increase, the tax going in, of course, whether you had rate increases or whatnot, that's more customers, more revenues, is how that's gonna work. Expenses also increased, $24,000. Now, that is a more ratio more indicative of what I typically see with y'all. That 11% in revenue with expenditures falling in under that. Cost of sales and services, cost of producing that water, increased about $26,000, and depreciation also increased about $2,300. And I won't go into my ratio anymore because I've already explained it, but that same concept that I mentioned with fund balance and general fund, y'all are about 5.9 months, no more revenue comes in, 6 months is what you would be operating, still on the high end of our recommendation. Alright, so let's follow it up with our charts here. Without having an outlier like we did with that land in the general fund, the thing we can use here is imbalance. You see those be consistent with one another. As costs have gone up, revenues have gone up in suit. You also see down there, I want you to miss it, that line in green, that's depreciation expense. I always want to highlight this in water and sewer, especially when I think the city's doing a good job. But, so depreciation expense is not real money going out the door. So when you look up there and you see that operating revenues are slightly less than your expenses, remember, inside that number is depreciation, so not a real number. But if I can see a city run balanced with depreciation in there, the reason that's a big deal is that depreciation is like a budgeted replacement of an item you're going to need. So you buy it one time, cost is $100,000, and you depreciate it over 5 years, and expense hits of $20,000 every year. So as you budget that depreciation in with run balanced, you're preparing for that repurchase, if that makes sense. So that's, again, very balanced even with that buffer in there. Alright, we've got a report on internal controls, compliance, and other matters. So that's the second letter in that book. Yes, we come in and audit you, we help prepare your financial statements. One of the big things we do is we review your internal controls, we look at who does what, we look for weaknesses, areas of improvement, and that's where I mentioned that letter. We talked about how they're the same year after year, but we found 2 significant deficiencies. So it's significant because it's important, right? I highlighted that you've got folks wearing a lot of hats. That means they're doing a good job of wearing a lot of hats, but that is a significant risk from the standpoint if you've got somebody doing a lot, obviously there's more risk that something could go wrong. But that speaks to y'all staff doing a good job and that y'all operate the way you do with 1, 2, 3 people handling a lot of duties. If you went to a larger city, you might break up his job into 3 jobs or her job into 5 jobs. Y'all are consolidating that and ultimately having less staff, helping keep that expenditure number down for personnel costs. And the last one, always want to make sure I hit on the deficiency is additional training. Sit here and rave about your staff doing a good job. So you see in the letter where it talks about your staff getting additional training, I always want to point out that that is not an indictment on your staff. What that means is that without our help, they could not produce these financial statements. I wouldn't expect y'all to be able to produce these statements because that partly put me out of a job, but I think that's one reason we talk about the government auditing standards. I think that's the reason they make it so complicated, so that nobody can do it. But so we say we need additional training, but the next question I'm usually given is, okay, well, what training can we give her to, or this staff here or her to help get rid of that number? Not a whole lot you can do that. You've got governments much larger than y'all with a team of folks that still get this comment. So I always want to point out it's not an indictment on the staff. It's going to probably stay there. So. Alright. The next 2 slides I will go over fairly quickly. You heard me talk about auditing standards. Well, every year they make our job harder. They put out these new things we're required to implement. This year with GASB 100, they changed on how we account for changes. It's kind of ironic, but what that means we've implemented this, I'm telling you we've implemented this, y'all are in compliance, and also, it did not affect y'all this year, but we have implemented it all the same. GASB 101 is right behind it. It discusses how you account for PTO, compensated absences. This did not affect y'all either. That took a little bit of work determining if it did affect you, but ultimately it did not. I see Jackie smile. We put some time on that. We talk about just this year alone, we implemented two. I've got the next slide talks about the ones that are coming down the line. GASB 102, 103, 104, and as those come in, that's part of what you guys pay us for, is to not know the impact of that. We study up on it and then say, okay, this is the impact we're gonna give to your financial statements. So that's us letting you know what's already happened, what's coming down the line, and we're gonna take care of it. You got my contact information on the last slide. So again, that's, if anybody has any questions, I use the same line every year, where you're all here year round, even though we're here once a year. Y'all staff got very, very good at letting us do a lot of our job remotely, where we don't come on site. We pride ourselves on, especially since COVID, we use a lot of jobs are remote these days. You will see us every single year, even if it's asked about kids, grandkids, whatever the case may be. We value that FaceTime and the relationship. If y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Any questions for Justin?
I know that took a little while,
No, you did a
but
great
y'all
job.
should be proud of these.
And once again, I would like to thank you and all those that helped you in Rushing County for once again doing a tremendous job all in the city of Franklin Springs. I think it's been, what, 16 years, 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, it's been since 2012, but yeah.
Y'all always done a tremendous job, and we appreciate it.
Yep, and this was my, in this industry, you see a lot of rotating staff. It's hard to not have turnover in Public County. We try to keep fresh eyes on y'all's audit from a stance of new team members come with me, but this would have been my 11th, and was I on vacation this year?
You were.
I missed it. I actually talked to you while I was
You
vacation.
did. I feel so bad. You
Yeah,
called me.
I hate I missed that, but I do appreciate y'all's city and working with Russia.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
And Justin, pack your stuff and you can go on to the house.
Yes, sir. My 7, 5, and 2-year-old, I say my wife will appreciate it.
That's right.
Because of that 7, 5, and 2-year-old. Y'all have a good one.
You have a safe trip home.
Yes, sir.
Next order of business is a resolution for Judge Dale R. Sanders. And I'm gonna read the resolution as follows. A resolution commending the Honorable Dale R. Sanders for his dedicated service to the city of Franklin Springs. Whereas the Honorable Dale R. Sanders has served with distinction as a municipal court judge for the city of Franklin Springs from 2010 to 2025. And whereas the Honorable Dale R. Sanders has demonstrated exceptional dedication to upholding the principles of justice and fairness throughout his tenure. And whereas the mayor and city council wishes to express its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Judge Dale R. Samuels for his invaluable contributions as a municipal judge for the city of Franklin Springs. Now there, let it be resolved that the mayor and city council of Franklin Springs do hereby formally commend the Honorable Dale R. Samuels for his dedicated service to the city of Franklin Springs and express sincere appreciation for his contributions to the municipal court system. Be it further resolved that the city council wishes the Honorable Dale R. Samuels all the best in his future endeavors. Adopted this 17th day of July, 2025. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to adopt this resolution. I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor, show your vote sign. Motion carried, I will sign and pass it now. All right, next order of business is business license application. We have business license before us from Firefly Engineering Consultants. This time I would like to ask for a motion to approve this business license. I have a motion. Second, all in favor, show your voting sign. Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Next order of business is public comment.
I need to grab that desk, excuse me.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there are no names, so moving on. Consideration of executive session. We don't have any of that tonight. Under miscellaneous, we do have a few things. One of the things is, we had not gotten, we got the email today, I thought I saw it from the tax commission, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we're gonna go through those numbers and we're gonna have to meet early for next month. So next month's meeting will be August the 14th, so we can pass the millage. And we're not gonna have to have any public hearings because we're rolling millage back once again. So, we will have one meeting to pass that digest since we received it today. And once again, the citizens of Franklin Springs will not have any increase in their property taxes. So that is another thing to commend this leadership and this staff and this council for. So we will, have that meeting on August the 14th. A couple of other things. I'm gonna start, but I'm gonna get Jackie, we discussed several months ago on the 65 and over tax exempt on the property taxes. Well, we've gotten with our attorney and it's a longer process, but it will have to go before the state legislature in January. So once it goes to the state legislature, and I talked to Tax Commissioner Bobby Martin as well, then it will go on a referendum and then it will go into effect. So our citizens that are 65 and over, hopefully we'll be able to get that. I think it's about another, 18 months out, 17 months out. We are working on that, and I think that's one thing, Mr. Scranton, you asked a while back about. So I hope that answers your question on that. That is in the process. It's just a longer process than we initially thought. So that is in the process, and actually the legislature's legal teams have already received this information, so it's waiting for the legislature to convene. So that is on the plans for the 2026 Georgia Senate. A couple other things on miscellaneous, and these things have kind of come in the last few days, so that's why it's being brought up under miscellaneous, and we didn't have it on the agenda. I got a call yesterday from Jagged Rock Media. They're doing our branding and doing our social media stuff. So they're building that stuff for us, and it's come along well. But one thing that I thought I would like to ask the council is to include when they build, they're building basically, instead of Jackie having to run our social media, just like what Justin said earlier, we are a small city and a lot of people wear a lot of hats. So we're going to ask Jagged Rock to kind of run our social media for us. I mean, they're in the business to do it, and they will do a great job, and it will be one less thing off of Jackie. And Marley's her assistant in that as well as plate, because I don't know a whole lot about anything with social media. So with that being said, I thought that we could add to that website, to our social media stuff, Facebook, whatever it is, some avenues for different things in the city. So we're going to send out to all businesses in the city a letter. And this letter basically is inviting them to let us know a date and time that we could come by, a city representative, a city staff member, and Jagged Rock with a camera, and do a little bit of a PR piece for your business. And that PR piece will stay on our website, stay on our Facebook page, so everybody can see it. So all businesses will be sent that here in the near future from our city staff, just asking them if they would like. Now, they don't have to. If they don't want to be involved, they don't have to be involved, but it's free publicity, and it's good PR for the businesses. Another route we're going to go is we're going to reach out to Life Springs, Emmanuel University, and the school systems, let them have a place for some public things on there, because our children do go to Franklin County schools. A lot of students come to Emmanuel College, so it's an informative page that shows the school systems and different things, and different options. Also, the different churches that we have here in the city, they will be also asked to be a part of it if they want to, have free publicity for their church. They will have that on this social media platform that we will have, but it will be run by Jagged Rock Media. And the other thing is citizens. I think we're gonna do it through our utility bills or whatever, but we're gonna mail out and invite any citizens that want to be involved, to say something that they like about Franklin Springs, say something they don't like about Franklin Springs. But they can have that, and we will have that, and it will be something where you can click on different things, and it will be easily accessible, and it will be just a good thing to kind of, in my opinion, showcase our great city. So that's something that is, Jackie and Marlon working hard with Kayla on the branding. That's coming along well, but as soon as we get some concrete stuff, everybody will be able to see it. But that's kind of an update that I just received in the last 2 days, and I talked to Jackie and Marlon about it as far as the ideas of expanding it and giving, all of our businesses, all of our churches, all of our schools, anybody involved in Franklin Springs, an opportunity for free publicity. So that will be coming up very soon, and we will keep you posted as that. Anything else, Jackie? Is that it? I think that's it, isn't it?
Okay.
All right. Anybody have any questions? No questions, ask for a motion to adjourn. I have a motion, second, all in favor, show your vote sign, motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Everybody have a great evening.
They took me 6 o'clock. So all I really got here, I was dealing with my daughter outside. Good. And then I went, she's like, it started at 5:30. I was like, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She told me you were.